Hello students, good morning to all of you and welcome to our channel Shree Tuition. Today we are going to discuss about the topic number system. It will be beneficial for the both classes, class 9th and class 10th students. So let's try to understand what is number. What is number? If you are being asked that what is number, then the first reply is that numbers are just signs or symbols. Numbers are just signs or symbols which are used to represent the quantity or quality of anything. Numbers are just signs or symbols which are used to represent the quantity or quality of anything. Now, to understand numbers, we have classified it into many different parts. Let's understand how many parts are there of the numbers. Firstly, numbers are classified into mainly 2 to 3 parts. First part is it is the first chapter of class 10th in which we understand about the real numbers, what are real numbers, and our second part is imaginary number. Imaginary number. We understand the concept of imaginary numbers in our class 11th, and after that we would like to discuss about the transcendental numbers. Transcendental numbers. Here are also many more numbers. Just like if we combine the real number and imaginary number, we get a new number, complex number. Combination of real plus imaginary is known as complex number. But up to class 10, we discuss only about the real numbers, that what is a real number. रियल नंबर क्या होती है, यहाँ पर हम सभी नंबर्स के बारे में बारी बारी से समझेंगे. सबसे पहले हम समझते हैं एक रियल नंबर क्या होती है. सच अ नंबर हुज रियल वैल्यू एग्जिस्ट. कोई ऐसी नंबर जिसकी कोई रियल वैल्यू एग्जिस्ट करती है. जस्ट लाइक -1, -2, 0, +1, +2. And imaginary numbers. What are imaginary numbers? Numbers which we do not use in our day-to-day life or real life. Numbers which can be only imagined but does not have any real value. Numbers which does not have any real value are known as imaginary numbers. Another definition for the imaginary number could be negative numbers under the roots. Negative numbers under the roots. If we write any negative number under the root, it is known as the imaginary number. Just like root -1, root -2, root -3. These are such numbers whose real value does not exist. Whose real value does not exist. We would understand this concept later, and after that we will discuss about the transcendental number. What are transcendental numbers? Numbers which cannot be the root of any polynomial of finite degree. What are transcendental numbers? Transcendental numbers are such numbers which cannot be the root of any finite degree polynomial. Here we are going to understand the concept of imaginary number. Imaginary numbers, negative numbers under the roots are known as the imaginary numbers. Why these numbers are imaginary? Let's try to figure out root -4. If we take root -4, if we have to find out the square root of this number, then we can write it in the way like root 4 into root -1, root 4 into root -1. Here root 4 can be written as +-2, and root -1, root -1 is written as I, is denoted by I, where I stands for iota. What is iota? What does term iota mean? Iota means a number, a number which does not exist in real but can be only imagined. Iota means a very least number which does not exist in real but can be only imagined. Then the root of minus negative 4 is plus minus 2i. This is our imaginary number. Numbers which have no real value, numbers which have no real value are known as imaginary numbers. And real numbers which have a real value are known as real numbers. And what are complex numbers? If we are trying to figure out the concept of complex numbers, let's see what are complex numbers. Complex numbers, when we combine a real number with an imaginary number is known as complex number. We can say that the combination of real number and imaginary number is known as the complex number. Just like if we represent real number by a, then an imaginary number is represented like bi or ib. It's the standard form of a complex number. Let's try to figure out what is real number. We would understand these concepts of imaginary number and complex number in our class 11th. Up to class 10th, we have to understand only the concept of real numbers. What are real numbers? As I told already that numbers which do have a real value, are known as real numbers. And real numbers are also further classified in many more parts. Just try to figure out it. Real numbers are classified into two parts. Real numbers are mainly classified into two parts. First part is integer, and the second part is the opposite of the integer. The opposite of the integer is known as the decimal. Number. What does integer mean? Integer means a complete digit. Integer simply means a complete digit, while decimal number means an incomplete digit. You can define also decimal numbers, the numbers which are incomplete, in itself or need a point to be represented, while integers are numbers which are a complete digit, means which does not need any point to be represented and can be represented completely, are known as integers. Further we classify decimal numbers in few parts, just like decimal numbers can be classified as terminating decimal or terminating decimal, and our second part is non-terminating decimal. We understand these concepts in our class 9th. What are terminating decimals and what are non-terminating decimals? Terminating decimals, such divisions which are completely terminated after a decimal. Are known as terminating decimal numbers. Just like if we divide, for example given, if we divide 11 by 2, we get 2 5s are 10, 1 2 5s are 10. remainder is 0. Where we got a number, here we got a number which in which the remainder of the division is 0. The remainder of the division is 0, while the quotient we got is a decimal number. The quotient we got is a decimal number, and after decimal the numbers are fixed. The numbers are fixed. While in non-terminating decimal, what is non-terminating decimal? In which after decimal we do not get a complete number. Just like if we divide 10 by 3, here we see 3 3s are 9, 1 decimal, we put here 0, and again 3 3s are 9, 1 again 0, 3 3s are 9. Here we get a number, here we got a quotient which is being not terminated. The remainder is not 0 at all. The remainder is not 0 at all, while we are getting a quotient which is being repeated. Then such numbers which do not terminate after the decimal, such decimal numbers which do not terminate after the decimal are known as non-terminating decimal numbers, and such numbers which terminates after the decimal, which terminates after few digits after a decimal, are known as terminating decimal. To understand this concept in a better way, we have also classified the non-terminating decimal numbers into two parts. Non-terminating decimal numbers are also classified into two parts. First part is recurring decimal, number, and the second part is non-recurring decimal numbers. Then here we see recurring simply means repeating. Recurring simply means repeating. Here we are classifying the non-terminating decimal numbers. Here we are classifying the non-terminating decimal numbers. Non-terminating decimal numbers can be recurring or non-recurring. Non-terminating decimal numbers can be recurring or non-recurring. For example, as we saw in our previous example, when we divided 10 by 3, we are getting 3.333. Here 3 is being repeated again and again. Here 3 is being repeated again and again. Thus we can say that this number is a recurring non-terminating decimal number. What we can say? This number is a recurring non-terminating decimal number. And some numbers which do not repeat after the decimal, such numbers which do not repeat after the decimal are known as non-recurring decimal numbers. For example, we can see that 0.101001, actually it's non-terminating, then it would not terminate ever. It means it will be continued. It will be continued. It's non-terminating, it means it will be continued after the decimal, but it's non-recurring also. As we can see that here no numbers are being repeated, or no patterns of the numbers are being repeated. Thus we can see that this is a non-recurring decimal numbers. We can see that the value of pi is 3.14 ... Pi, we write here pi. Pi is also a non-recurring, non-terminating decimal number, because the value of pi 3.14 ... whatever does not repeat ever, neither terminate. Then we can say that pi is an non-recurring, non-terminating decimal number. We can say that pi is a non-recurring, non-terminating decimal number. We can also conclude that the numbers which are non-recurring, non-terminating decimal, the numbers which are non-recurring, non-terminating decimal numbers, the numbers which are non-recurring, non-terminating decimal numbers are known as irrational numbers. Thus we can define here irrational also. Irrational numbers are the numbers which are non-recurring, non-terminating decimal numbers. We can also define here irrational numbers are the numbers which are non-recurring and non-terminating decimal numbers. And except non-recurring, non-terminating decimal numbers, all the other numbers are known as rational numbers. From here we can observe that the numbers which are non-recurring, non-terminating decimal numbers, the numbers which are non-recurring, non-terminating decimal numbers cannot be represented in the form of p upon q. Such numbers which do not terminate nor repeat, which neither terminate nor repeat, are known as irrational numbers. Means irrational numbers are the numbers which cannot be represented in the form of p upon q, where where p and q are integers and the value of q is not 0. And all the other numbers, just like we could write 3.333, it's being repeated, then we could write this number in the form of 10 by 3. Here it is represented in the form of p upon q, where p and q both are integers. Where p and q both are integers, a complete digit, integers means a complete digits, and value of q is not equal to 0. Value of q is not equal to 0. Hence, we can say that this is a rational number. We can also conclude from here that all the recurring numbers or all the terminating decimal numbers are always rational, and all the non-recurring, non-terminating decimal numbers are always irrational. From here we got the concept of rational and irrational. Now let's move on to our next topic, integer, a complete digit. What is an integer? Integers which do have here our next topic is integer, and we would understand this topic in our next video. And thanks for being with the Shree tuition. Thank you.